Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode in the JavaScript course. And today, as you can probably see on the screen, we're covering if statements and also looking at logical operators. So you might have seen and, or, not. We'll be covering those today. So without further ado, let's get started, okay? So an if statement allows us to execute a block of code only if a certain condition is true. So it's basically like a simplest form of any kind of decision making. So let's get started, right, with something really, really simple. We'll create a variable saying age, and we'll say that the age is 18. And then to initiate an if statement, you'll type in if, right? And then you want to open up the brackets, right? And here we'll check if age is greater than 18. Yep, 18, right? And once you've typed that in, you want to add this curly brace here and just expand that, right? And inside of this curly brace, you can execute any code that you want, right? Anything you could ever imagine, you can execute in here, only if age is greater than 18, right? So what we'll do is we'll do console.log, and we'll just type in saying you can vote, right? So in a lot of places, if you can vote, you have to be 18 or more. So we'll just do and is equal to. So what we're checking here is that if age is greater than or equal to 18, then I want JavaScript or the program to run this, right? So only if, right? So let's run it now and we'll just see what we can get. And obviously here in the console, you're seeing you can vote. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change this to 17. And I just want you to see what happens when we run it again. And as you can see, we don't get anything. There's nothing outputted, right? Because we haven't set any other condition here. No other check, right? Only if they are greater than or equal to 18, we're going to print something to the console. Otherwise, do nothing, basically. So that's what's happening. So now that we see that we've got absolutely nothing, right? What if we want to execute a different block of code, right? If the condition is false, right? And here is where we have the else statement. So how would we write the else statement? You can see that there's like an autocomplete coming on the screen. Thank you, JetBrains. What I'll do is I'll just write else. And this time we won't open the curly brackets, right? Because this is going to be our default. We're just saying that, okay, JavaScript, if this person is not greater than or equal to 18, then I want you to run this, right? So whatever this condition is, if this is false, then it will just come here and execute whatever the code is here. So what we'll do is we'll do console.log and we'll just put you cannot vote, right? Okay, so age is 17 and we're checking if they are greater than or equal to 18. And then if they're not, we'll return this. So we'll go ahead and run it now. And now, finally, once we run it again, you can see that in the console, we're getting you cannot vote, right? Which is correct, because before it was returning nothing, and now it is returning something. So now you know that if you want like a default or like a fallback when the expression is not true, you want to still want to do something, then you can do that using an if else statement. But I know what you're thinking now, right? You're thinking, all right, Raz, great. We can go ahead and use the else statement. But what if I want to check a different condition? We've got the age here. I've let the user know that they can vote. But what if I want to check if they can drink? How can I also check that condition as well, right? And so what you can do here is use a else if block. And how you do that is you do if, you'll do definitely not what it's suggesting. Age is greater than or equal to 18. All right, we'll just write this out again and we'll do console.log you can vote. Okay, excellent. Now what we'll do here is we'll do else if, and we'll just make a little correction, just put it together. Here we go. So we'll type in else if, right, to initiate that block. And then what you want to do is add the brackets here, as we've seen here. And we'll just check that age is greater than or equal to 21, which is the case in the States. And then we'll add the curly braces again. And here we can just say console.log that you can buy alcohol. Right, something simple like that, right? And then we can just do this else. And we'll just say console.log saying you cannot do either. I'll be good if I could type today, but struggling a little bit. So you cannot do either, right? So that's excellent. So as you can see here, we're checking multiple conditions now, right? We're checking if the user is 18 or more, and they can vote, right? But if they're not, and they're greater than 21, then we're letting them know that they can buy alcohol, right? Otherwise, we'll just say you cannot do either. And obviously they're at 17, so we'll go ahead and run that file, and it'll return you cannot do either, right? Because that's true, they can't, right? And it doesn't fulfill our condition. And this isn't necessarily something you do in the real world, like check like this, but I'm just showing you, right, that you can still use an else if block. So if this isn't true, then you can check another condition, then you can check another condition, then you can check another condition, and so on and so forth, right? Your if else statements can get very, very complex over time. So it's good to know how these works and what you can actually do to make it work. Okay, so now we're going to move on to logical operators, right? And this is how we kind of level up our if statements. So there's three main types that you can see that I've written on the screen. There's and, there's or, and there's not. So let's check what AND statement does, right? And an AND operator checks if both conditions are true, and if one is false, then the entire condition becomes false, right? So let's have a look at how that will work. Okay, great. So what I've done already is I have already created two separate variables. So you can see here on the screen, let age 1 is equal to 22, and I've got let has ID is equal to true. So we want to use the AND operator here. So we'll do if age is greater than or equal to 21 and has ID, then we'll do console.log, definitely not you can vote, you can enter the club, right? Otherwise we'll just do an else and we'll say console.log you cannot. Right, we'll just update that. And what we're doing here is we're checking if the age is greater than or equal to 21. And we can see here that age 1, the correct variable, is 22. So that should be true, okay? Now we have has ID, which is a Boolean value, right? And we've given it a value of true. And if we look at has ID, we don't need to do a check here to see if it's equal to or not equal to true or false, because it is already a true. It will just evaluate and it will return true, right? So here we've got this will return true, and this is already true. So now it will run this block. So we're going to go ahead and run the file and see what happens. And as you can see here, it will return you can enter the club. Okay, so now we're going to look at the OR operator, right? So what this will do is we'll check if at least one condition is true. If at least one condition is true, then I'll run that code block, right? So we're going to go ahead and start off with if, and then we're going to check if age 2 is greater than or equal to 18. And how would you say or, right? How do you do that in JavaScript? And you'd use these two lines here, and it'll basically say either evaluate this left hand side or evaluate the right hand side, and then we'll just check has permission. Okay, so I've added those in, and as you can see here, that what we're checking for is if the user is 18 or older, then they can attend the event, otherwise they cannot, right? So if either the user's 18 or they have permission, then they can do it. So you can see here that age 2 is 17, but they have permission, right? So now it should return this, and let's go ahead and run. And you can see here that it's returning you can attend the event. Okay, now we're going to cover the not operator, right? And what it does is it flips the value of a condition. So if something is true, the not operator makes it false, and vice versa. So we've got a variable here called is raining, and it's currently set to false. So what we'll do is we'll just start off with an if condition. So if and we'll go not. So we use the exclamation mark here, and we'll do is raining. And we'll open this up and we'll say console.log. And we'll say, let's go for a walk. Right, and then we'll just put in an else block here, as we always do, and we'll say console.log. Let's stay inside. So now what we are checking is that if it is not raining, then we want to go for a walk. Otherwise, if it is, stay inside. And you might be a little bit confused. You're saying, well, is raining is false, right? So how is it returning this? And it's because we're using this not operator here. So it's just flipping whatever the value of the condition is here, and it will return true. And so then this will go ahead because we're making sure that it's not raining, and then we can do this else like that, right? So you just want to read it in that way. And then what you've already guessed from here on, that you can go ahead and combine these operators together in a simple if block as well. So what I want you to do is go ahead and combine them together and then post that in the chat below. But yeah, that is a wrap. That's how you use if statements in JavaScript, along with the logical operators that we've covered today. So and, or, and not. So by combining these, you can control the flow of your code and make more advanced programs. So if this is helpful to you, make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell icon, and there'll be more tutorials coming to you soon. Thank you very much for watching.